Dan Williams, Survive Outdoors. This is part 2 on narcissistic personality disorder in the outdoors. And the reason why I'm doing part 2, it's going to be really brief, and it's going to be addressing on what causes. How does a person develop into a narcissistic personality disorder? That's important. As you know, if you've seen some of our other videos, I'm a huge proponent of kids, wanting to get them in the outdoors, and I'll put a couple of those videos at the end on how to keep kids safe in the outdoors. So, I have a doctorate in clinical psychology. I specialize in forensic psych for years, and I'm also a PA doing urgent care medicine for 43 years. That puts me, what, about 120 years old, right? All right, so I was splitting wood a few days ago, and my back didn't like it, and I can also tell you that this log was a pain in the butt. So let's look at this log, and look at this. You see how the twist in this? That's been there for a long time. Look at the location. It's pretty well dead center of this log. When you have something like that and you try to split it, it is very difficult. And that right there gave me an idea, thinking, oh, well, this tree was injured, and this was really tough to split, to break through this guy. And basically, that's what happens with kids. When they're growing up 5, 7, 8 years old, they get injured emotionally, physically, sexually, abused by parents or caretakers that wound these kids. And that's what we're going to get into. When I was assessing kids, I did my internship basically at an all-adolescent teenager facility. And when I would go to a home to assess what happened to these 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old kids, one of the things I always did is I went into the room, their bedroom, got down on my knees, and that gave me a sense of how these people were feeling. And these kids, I mean, they are little, so obviously, right? And so think about that, about adults overpowering them. But when I would get on my knees and I would look around their room, I could see where they marked and drew things on the side of their dresser or had a sticker. What kind of sticker was it? Where was it placed? Were they trying to hide it from their parents? And it gave me a sense also for how they were feeling. So that was something that I would do to get a better sense of them. Let me give you an example how this is going to occur in the outdoors. So a dad is teaching his son how to use a knife, and he inadvertently cuts himself. And the classic response, oh my gosh, we got to take care of this. You know, now when you use a knife, remember we talked about this and that. A narcissistic father is going to go, good, that's great. I'm glad you cut yourself. Now maybe you'll learn how to use the knife the right way. That is a classic narcissistic injury. No empathy, no caring for the kid whatsoever, and instilling that hurt into the kid. What it also does, and what these narcissists do, is they'll set the kid up to fail in a situation, and then they can come back and say, now watch the pro do it. This is how the pro does it. And then the limelight reverses right back to the narcissistic injuring person. That is a classic scenario. Now, one or two incidents like that does not make a person to become injured to the point of where they grow into a narcissist. It has to become repetitive and frequent. Same thing, frequent, repetitive, right? Right. So this occurs frequently over time. It also depends on how old is the child and the duration of time. So that occurring to a 15-year-old, it never happened before, is much different than it happening to a 7.5-year-old over and over again, and an 8-year-old. So taking a kid out camping and they're scared to death to be on their own. And you'll see narcissistic parents just leave them alone, and they'll have them get scared, and they take an enjoyment. There is an enjoyment that these individuals take on seeing their kids frightened. You see this with spouses. When one spouse is anxious or nervous about a situation, the narcissist takes joy from that situation. So in the outdoors, we have to be aware of that and how we teach our children. Really important. We need to be caring. We need to be empathetic. And this, yes, it's redundant. Yeah, most 90% of the people out there are going to look at this video and go, well, that's what I do with my kids. And I applaud you. That's fantastic. These kids then end up growing up and becoming hypervigilant, paranoid. Sometimes they become perfectionists. And the reason why that is they're afraid to make a mistake. They're scared to death to make a mistake. So they become very perfectionistic. And you see some of these behaviors when they grow older. They're the people that will ruin a family event and make a huge dramatic scene. These are the individuals that when you're walking in a store, always walk ahead of the other person. Or you're out hiking and the person walks always in front, way ahead. That is classic narcissistic, or it could be classic very healthy person. So, and the reason why I say that kind of tongue in cheek is I don't want you to take some of the things I say and draw a black and white conclusion from it. You have to have a constellation of symptoms and signs in order to draw that conclusion. That's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to talk about the children, how this affects them growing up, and we want to get the kids in the outdoors. We want them to be safe. We don't want them to develop with false pride so they get hurt. And if you have a tendency to be narcissistic, knock that crap off and try to love and care and be empathetic with those kids. If you have a scenario where you've experienced this, or you've seen a kid that's gone through some of this, or you've been in a marriage or relationship, would love to share that. You know, that would be fantastic. Be a little transparent. It's going to help somebody else out. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, applaud. All right, guys, we got a knife review coming up next. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your face to the wind. Take care.